prized possessions. I keep it right here on the piano, and I am still so very deeply honored to have been recognized by this wonderful and incredibly essential West Virginia organization. I am so proud to be a West Virginian. And my other prized possession is this mountain man that my grandma made at a ceramics class in Morgantown in the early 1950s. And you can see he's got his trusty hound dog and his trusty jug, and he wants to say, "Thank you, West Virginia Music Hall of Fame, for recognizing all the creative spirits of our state, of which there are so very many. Now y'all stay safe out there, and remember, Mountaineers are always free!" Yeah, even when they wear a mask. Have fun, everybody. I love you. I miss you. Mwah.
Thank you for joining us for the 2020 West Virginia Music Hall of Fame induction ceremony. I'm really excited to kick off this evening's celebration of music. The West Virginia Music Hall of Fame provides our community with opportunities to learn about the Mountain State's rich musical history. We're honored to host the West Virginia Music Hall of Fame in our beautiful capital city. Our state is home to so many talented musicians, some who will be joining us during this evening's broadcast. In honoring this year's inductees, we are also preserving the lasting contributions of skilled West Virginians. Without further ado, let's kick off our show.
Hi, and welcome to the West Virginia Music Hall of Fame's 8th induction ceremony. Once again, there are many, many people to thank, not only for making this production possible, but for helping the West Virginia Music Hall of Fame over the past 15 years. I remember very well when the idea of a West Virginia Music Hall of Fame popped into my head. At that time, I had no idea what it would represent and how varied and far-reaching the music made by West Virginians has traveled. Each of our 58 inductees adds another dimension to this collective idea of what West Virginia music is. It's both exciting and humbling to spread the word to West Virginians and out-of-staters. We would like to thank all the organizations that have funded our various educational outreach programs. Most recently, the Music Career Counseling Program brings music professionals into high schools to let students know about the many performing and non-performing careers that exist in the music business. Perhaps most importantly, many of those jobs can be done without leaving the state. For me, one of the most poignant statements about West Virginia comes from the late Bill Withers. Bill was a member of our inaugural class in 2007 and, through the years, helped and supported us in a number of ways. Sadly, he passed away this past March. The challenge is to get young people who grow up in places like West Virginia to take the limits off of themselves and realize that there's no magic that somebody else has in this world that you don't. They're just people. And that's a lot, man. Thanks and enjoy the show.
Welcome to the 2020 West Virginia Music Hall of Fame induction ceremony. We're so glad you've joined us. We're here at the Culture Center Theater in Charleston recording tonight's presentation without an audience. So things are going to look a little different and sound a little different this year, but we're still going to celebrate the legacy of 5 diverse and influential inductees.
And we'll enjoy some world-class musical performances, and we're all sure to learn something new about the heritage of West Virginia music.
Honey and Sonny Davis, the Davis twins.
You and me together, life's a pleasure.
Honey and Sonny Davis, known to their legion of fans as the Davis twins, grew up as part of the golden age of radio. It was a time of uncertainty, when most of the world was at war, and people were desperate for hope, innocence, and a sense that things would be okay. The Davis twins were all that, and more. Before turning 12, they had already won nearly every amateur contest they entered within 50 miles of their home in New Lexington, Ohio. But it was their performance at the 1938 Ohio State Fair that sealed their professional fate. Performing in front of 10,000 people, the twins, who were just 12, took first place, earning $50 and a trophy cup. Sonny and Honey were born Maxine and Niall Jr. in New Lexington, Ohio in 1926. While their parents, Jeanette and Niall Sr., were not musical, their children were. At age 3, they sang Jesus Loves Me in church and were taking piano lessons at age 6. Soon, Honey switched to mandolin and Sonny to guitar. The morning after that fateful day at the Ohio State Fair, Blaine Smith and Tommy Nelson, both regulars on Wheeling, West Virginia's WWVA Jamboree, showed up at their house. They wanted the Davis twins to join the Jamboree family. Their parents politely declined, saying the twins were too young. But 2 years later, in 1940, Blaine and Tommy returned. This time, their parents agreed to let them move to Wheeling and join the show. Jeanette went with them, while Niall Sr., a dragman for the railroad, remained at home to work. It was at that time that they became known as Honey and Sonny, the Davis twins. Being members of the world's original Jamboree was an experience that only fueled their passion for performing. The Jamboree, which at the time rivaled Nashville's Grand Ole Opry and Chicago's WLS Barn Dance, showcased the biggest stars in country music. Next stop was Fairmont's Sagebrush Roundup, where they played with Grandpa Jones. When they returned to Wheeling, they attended Wheeling High School. Their days began with a 15-minute slot on WWVA at 6 a.m. After school, they performed again at 2 p.m. and 4 p.m. In the evening, they often had an out-of-town show. Honey and Sonny graduated from Wheeling High School in 1944. The next morning, Sonny left for the Navy. Honey continued to sing and moved to Fort Wayne, Indiana. They missed singing together, and they missed each other. It was the first time the twins had been apart.
Yes, sirree, life's worthwhile. Look at me with a great big smile. My blackbirds are bluebirds now.
After the war, Sonny moved back to Wheeling and rejoined the Jamboree, and Honey married Jamboree musician-comedian George Sleepy Jeffers. With WWVA now a 50,000-watt north-facing station, the show's acts, notably Doc and Chicky Williams, became stars in New England and Canada. Honey and Sonny also toured regionally, performing with name acts like June Carter Cash. They also worked with Hawkshaw Hawkins, a 2009 West Virginia Music Hall of Fame inductee, both at WWVA and on the road. It was during this time that Honey and Sonny were voted the number 2 duo in the country, second only to Chicago's Lulabelle and Scotty. At one point, their fan club was receiving more than 7,000 pieces of mail a day.
You gotta be the greatest, and I'll never let you go.
Meeting future West Virginia Music Hall of Famers, the Bales brothers, was also pivotal in their career. They traveled with the Bales to Shreveport, Louisiana, Texas, and Oklahoma, and performed 2 shows daily for 18 months. Their last big move was to Charleston, West Virginia in 1948. Sonny worked as a disc jockey on Logan station WVOW, while he and Honey developed a musical comedy act with Sleepy, Roscoe Swerps, Pudgy Parsons, and others. In various configurations, they played shows throughout West Virginia and Ohio.
Come here and sit up on my knee, stop acting so precise. I think you are so cute and sweet when you look at me so wise.
In the mid-1950s, Sonny hired on at radio station WKLC in St. Albans, where he greeted listeners on its first day of broadcasting. He eventually left the station when the format changed from country to rock. Sonny continued to DJ for several more years at Charleston stations WCHS and WTIP. With access to WTIP's recording studio, the Davis twins recorded a number of sides and released 3 45s, including You and Me, the local favorite Dumpling Pie, and the rockabilly-tinged Rough Stuff.
Now one of these days you're gonna make me mad, and I'm gonna do you like
like I done your dad. We had a fuss and come to blows. I hit him in the fist with my big nose, 'cause enough's enough. Enough's enough. Enough's enough. So I'll have you know there, honey Davis, I'm rough stuff.
Issued in the 1960s, Pretending is a Game has been included on at least 5 rockabilly compilations.
Don't call me darling, don't call me dear. Don't say you love me if you are not sincere.
Interestingly, while at the Jamboree, they were discouraged from releasing records because the show's executives were concerned that the artists would become too popular and leave. While Sonny was a serious musician, he also had a pragmatic side that wanted financial stability. He opened an electronics repair shop called Louise and the Kids Fix-It Shop in St. Albans, which gave way to Sonny's Frosty Twist, a hot dog stand drive-in restaurant. He operated the hot dog stand for 22 years, eventually adding 2 more locations. He also taught music lessons for 25 cents a lesson. Locally, Honey and Sonny are best remembered for being regulars on the morning music comedy television shows The Buddy Starcher Show and The Sleepy Jeffers Show on WCHS-TV. Both shows were a classic mix of music and comedy a la Hee-Haw, with Sleepy developing his comedic character Uncle Willie. The twins stopped performing around 1983. In his later years, Sonny worked at Casdall Funeral Home in St. Albans, where his outgoing personality was uplifting to many who had lost loved ones. Although Honey passed away in 2019, she was able to attend the press conference announcing she and Sonny's induction into the West Virginia Music Hall of Fame. Throughout their long career, Honey and Sonny brought heartfelt music and warm smiles to everyone who heard them. Their special twins harmony will hopefully be enjoyed by many future generations.
I'll keep remembering forever and ever. I love you, dear, as long as I live.
Here to present the induction of the Davis twins is 2013 inductee Tim O'Brien.
Family harmony, whether it's the Carter family in country music or the Jackson 5 in pop, is held in very high regard, and sibling duets are even more revered. You have 2 genetically close human beings singing one unified tone. And the phrasing is uncanny because they learn it around the dinner table, learning how to speak. They have the same pronunciations, they have the same rhythms. The family provides a kind of a protective shell where you can try things and not feel embarrassed. Family singing also engages other family members from other families. They see the people singing together, hear them singing together, think, that reminds me of my family. So it draws people in. My sister Molly and I are not twins like Honey and Sonny, but we're very close in age and we sing together, and we're the youngest of 5. When she wanted to learn the piano, I wanted to learn the piano. She became a Beatle fan, so I became a Beatles fan. And we sang together, one thing led to another. Pretty soon we'd travel around the world, and it all started around the family dinner table. The same joy of singing with your close siblings is what drives the success of Honey and Sonny, the Davis twins. Radio was such a powerful medium in 1940 when they debuted on WWVA. And if my sister and I thrilled to the Beatles on Ed Sullivan, the people up in the maritime provinces of Canada and in New England listened to Honey and Sonny and got thrilled the same way. They separated for a few years during World War II, but they got back together again. And Sonny, like a true West Virginian, kept his day job because he knew he needed to afford to be able to keep singing with Honey. So it's with great pride that I present this award and induct Honey and Sonny, the Davis twins, into the West Virginia Music Hall of Fame.
I'd like to thank the folks for this little thing we're doing here. And my twin sister, Honey, she passed away back in May, and she knew about our doing this, and she was really glad, and she thanks you too, I'm quite sure. It's really something big to be able to talk to you folks out there and thank you. And we will try to do the best in the future from what we're doing now. Thank you.
Now we pay tribute to the great Davis twins with a performance by the Hall of Fame Band featuring my co-host Vince Herman and vocalist Annie Neeley. But first, here with a tribute they sent us from Nashville, once again let's welcome Hall of Famer Tim O'Brien and his partner Jan Fabricius.
Folks, we're going to sing a song that was recorded by Honey and Sonny, the Davis twins, called As Long As I Live. But before I sing and start off the song, I want to introduce the band members. That's Shad Cobb on the violin, or the fiddle if you prefer. On the bass, Mr. Mike Bubb. We have Corey Walker on the 5-string banjo, and Jan Fabricius on the mandolin and the duet vocal with me, As Long As I Live. A 1, a 2, a 3.
If it be 100 years, I'll keep remembering forever and ever. I love you, dear, as long as I live. Said that night we parted that we'd forget we'd ever met. I haven't forgotten. Oh, I wonder if you have, or if your heart is full of regret. What you gonna do, little sugar?
I'm gone honky-tonkin' where the lights are low.
Come back here, baby.
I ain't gonna do it.
I mean, baby, I don't mean maybe. I'm gonna leave you, yes indeedy. They may throw me in the calaboose. I'm gonna turn you every way but loose, 'cause enough's enough.
Enough's enough.
Enough's enough.
Enough's enough.
Enough's enough.
Enough's enough.
I'll let you know there, Roscoe, I'm rough stuff.
Now where you going, Sonny?
Gone slipping and sliding, sleeping around.
Well, what you gonna do, Sonny?
Gone honky-tonkin' and to paint the town.
Now you've been gone to stir up the dancers.
What's fair for the goose is fair for the gander, 'cause enough's enough.
Enough's enough.
Enough's enough.
Enough's enough.
Enough's enough.
Enough's enough.
Well, I'll let you know there, Larry Groce, I'm rough stuff. One of these days gonna make me mad. I'm gonna do like I done your dad. We
had a fuss and we come to blows, and I hit him in the face with my big nose, 'cause enough's enough.
Enough's enough.
Enough's enough.
Enough's enough.
Enough's enough.
Enough's enough.
Wow, have you know there, Hunter Davis, I'm rough stuff.
You're gonna keep fussing till I call my mother.
Well, I don't care if you call your brother.
He's stout as a mule and wide as a wall.
And the bigger they come, the harder I fall, 'cause enough's enough.
Enough's enough.
Enough's enough.
Enough's enough.
Enough's enough.
Enough's enough.
Well, I'll have you know there, Uncle Willie, I'm a great big gob of rough stuff.
Hi there, and welcome to West Virginia's Musical Hall of Fame's 8th induction ceremony. My name is Peter Marshall. Not my real name. My name is really Pierre Lecoq. And I'm a native of Huntington, West Virginia. I was born in Clarksburg at St. Mary's Hospital in 1926, which means I'm a very, very old person. But Huntington is really my home. Although I left the state many years ago, West Virginia is still in my soul. I still root for the Mountaineers and, of course, the Thundering Herd. I knew Marshall when it was Marshall College. Anyway, I think about it often, and I mention it very often on my radio show, Music of Your Life, which is heard here in West Virginia. Music, I guess it's a part of life everywhere, but it's always been a very important part of life here in West Virginia, which is why the West Virginia Musical Hall of Fame, their mission is an important one, and why I've been happy to be a part of it, their events and their projects. Having pride in your home state is also very important. And the artists being inducted tonight, well, they have helped shape our country's music. I wish I could be there, so have a great time. I'll be watching.
The Hammonds Family. When it comes to understanding traditional West Virginia music and the music of Appalachia, the Hammonds Family is the natural first stop on a deep, well-blazed trail that dates back to the 19th century. The depth and breadth of the Hammonds family's musical legacy has been documented for 70 years, and there's no doubt that their expressive skills reach back even further. The family's connection to the state began with Jesse and Nancy Hammonds, born in Kentucky in the 1830s, who moved east to what was then pre-Civil War Virginia. Around 1850, they lived on the border, cutting timber and floating logs on the Tug Fork, where they were caught up in a feud near the mouth of the Big Sandy. In 1970, Maggie Hammonds Parker recalled hearing that there was a big bunch of 'em out on the bank, and into it they went. They was blood, and old Uncle John cut one man pretty near plumb right in two. Family members relocated often, but are strongly associated with Webster, Pocahontas, and Randolph counties. Several of Jesse and Nancy's children and grandchildren became known as singers and musicians. Their fiddle-playing son Eden was described in a 1906 newspaper story as a great musician and differentiated from his brothers, all avid hunters, by, quote, an artistic temperament that made a dreamer of him and detracted from his ability as a bear hunter, unquote. Another story has Eden in a fiddle contest, ready to play a two-part tune called The Falls of Richmond. Before his turn, another man played the same tune. Undaunted, Eden invented a new third part on the spot and won the contest. And in 1947, a professor from West Virginia University recorded 50 of his fiddle tunes. Eden's brother Paris fathered three well-known singers and musicians: Sherman Hammonds, Burl Hammonds, and Maggie Hammonds Parker, whose voice embodies both the spirit and plight of Appalachia.
To an end.
Another brother, Pete, was the source for several of Burl's fiddle tunes. A fourth brother, Neil, was the father of singer and banjo player Currence Hammonds, whose musical circle included his wife Minty, a distant relative, and cousin Donnie Hammonds Gum. The West Virginia Music Hall of Fame also recognizes banjo player and instrument maker Lee Hammonds, whose exact family relationship has not been established. Beginning in the 1960s, several family members, then in their 60s and 70s, attracted a following of young people, many from distant locations, discovering traditional music for the first time. According to one writer, virtually everyone who became acquainted with the Hammonds family during the 1970s and 1980s came away impressed, not only by their skills in music and narrative. Visits with the Hammondses had an immersive character, and for many, the experience was electrifying. This wider exposure began in Pocahontas County after their neighbor and local musician Dwight Diller met family members and began to document their music and narratives. Soon the visitors included Alan Jabbour from the Library of Congress, Carl Fleischhauer from West Virginia University, and a steady stream of other, mostly young, urban musicians and folk music lovers. Overall, the Hammonds repertory comprises hundreds of instrumental pieces and songs, some reaching back to the 18th century, some with regional connections, and many fine examples of older British and American ballads. Fiddle tunes like Big Coyote and Three Forks of Cheat were played with irregular or crooked rhythms that add expressive power to solo performances. The family's repertory is well represented on published recordings. Eden Hammonds from the West Virginia University Press, Maggie Hammonds Parker, Sherman Hammonds, Burl Hammonds, and Lee Hammonds from the Library of Congress and Rounder, as well as on special editions assembled by Dwight Diller. Currence and Minty Hammonds and Donnie Hammonds Gum from the Augusta Heritage Center at Davis and Elkins College. The Hammonds music lives on through generations of old-time music fans and events like the Appalachian String Band Festival. The family's musical legacy is carried on by Trevor Hammonds, great-grandson of Lee Hammonds and fifth generation of this great musical family.
Here to present the induction of the Hammonds family into the West Virginia Music Hall of Fame is the director of the West Virginia Humanities Council, Eric Waggoner.
The Hammonds family represent a unique phenomenon in the study and preservation of old-time music and folklore. It's rare for a single private family to have been so well documented and widely known, not only in their own right, but as part of an attempt to assemble a sort of snapshot of an entire region and era. Throughout the late 20th century, and even today, as you can see, the Hammonds family recordings fueled increasing nationwide interest, moving professional documentarians and private citizens alike to seek them out, in order to avail themselves of the Hammonds' long historical memory and graceful preservation of so many cultural traditions. My own discovery of the Hammonds family, like so many hundreds of others, came in the form of the Library of Congress and Rounder's record releases. I was living in Arizona at the time, going to school. I had been there for about a half dozen years, and I was starved for anything that sounded at all like home. Of course, the university library where I was stocked a copy of the Hammonds Family Library of Congress recordings. I don't remember anymore how I found it or what I typed into the computer to call it up, but I do remember vividly how I felt the first time I heard the record. I was immediately back home in East Central West Virginia, where my own family is from. I heard my own family in the music, in the stories, and in the self-deprecating humor that shot through the entire recordings of the Hammonds family. It was not only a restorative moment, but a revelation and an education, because I learned through that recording and the copious notes within it so much about the place where I was from that I hadn't known before. Alan Jabbour, founding director of the American Folklife Center, recorded the Hammonds family for the Archive of Folk Culture's celebrated recordings of Maggie, Sherman, and Burl. He also contributed the entry on the Hammonds family to the West Virginia Encyclopedia for us at the West Virginia Humanities Council. And Jabbour's assessment of the family's music is so descriptively perfect, I quote it shamelessly here. The Hammonds family's instrumental music includes a distinctive regional repertory of fiddle tunes forged on the early Appalachian frontier, as well as a banjo repertory, both picked and downstroked, of later vintage. Their singing tradition ranges from ancient British ballads through hundreds of American ballads and songs. All their music reflects a striking cultural synthesis, combining the artful irregularity and treble tension of the ancient British solo style with other Appalachian elements of Northern European, African American, and Native American origin. It's fitting that a family renowned for such deep cultural knowledge should continue to teach listeners even today. It's a great honor to welcome to the West Virginia Music Hall of Fame the Hammonds family. Here to accept the award is Trevor Hammonds.
I'd like to say what a great honor it is to accept this from my family, the Hammonds family of Pocahontas County. Lee Hammonds was my great-grandfather, and I feel like they'd be very proud of me for standing here today. It amazes me how recognized they are in today for something they did so long ago. And as long as I'm still here, their music will still be alive. So I really appreciate it.
The Hammonds family roots still run deep, and you'll hear their influence in these next performances. Along with fiddler Jesse Milnes, paying tribute to the Hammonds family is Trevor Hammonds. And my co-host, Emily Miller, is going to sing one for Maggie Hammonds.
being ready. I believe in being ready. I believe in being ready. When this world comes to an end. Oh, sinners, do get ready. Oh, sinners, do get ready. Oh, sinners, do get ready. For the times are drawing near. Oh, the sun, it will be darkened. Oh, the sun, it will be darkened. Oh, the sun, it will be darkened. When this world is to an end. Oh, the moon, it will be bleeding. Oh, the moon, it will be bleeding. Oh, the moon, it will be bleeding. When this world is to an end. Oh, the stars will all be falling. Oh, the stars will all be falling. Yes, the stars will all be falling. When this world is to an end. For there'll be them signs and wonders. Yes, there'll be them signs and wonders. There'll be them signs and wonders. When this world comes to an end.
At each induction ceremony, the West Virginia Music Hall of Fame presents the Spirit Award to an individual or an organization that we feel embodies the unique spirit of West Virginia.
This year, we're recognizing a national program that has put musical instruments into the hands of thousands of school children who could not otherwise afford them. Here to present our Spirit Award to the Save the Music Foundation is Nancy Doherty.
For more than a decade, the hills of West Virginia have been filled with the sound of music. And this is in large part thanks to the West Virginia Division of Culture and History in partnership with the Save the Music Foundation. The Save the Music Foundation has provided matching grants to qualified middle schools in all 55 counties of West Virginia. And the Division of Culture and History has coalesced support from businesses, foundations, nonprofit organizations, and individuals to break down barriers so that all students can participate and be engaged in an excellent arts education. To date, the investment totals more than $4 million. Over 3,500 musical instruments have been distributed, along with 5,000 music books to 94 schools from Brooke County to Mingo, from Pocahontas County to Wayne County, and all points in between. Leading this effort has been Randall Reed Smith, curator of the West Virginia Division of Culture and History, and Chiho Feindler, senior director of the programs for Save the Music Foundation. Randall, Chiho, and the staff of the arts section have traveled countless miles across the state, witnessing the impact of this remarkable program. It's my great honor to present the West Virginia Music Hall of Fame Spirit Award to Randall Reed Smith, representing the Division of Culture and History, and Chiho Feindler. Randall?
Thank you, Nancy. This is truly a great honor for our state. The Department of Arts, Culture, and History now had been doing this for 11 years. When Save the Music came to West Virginia, I took them all over the southern part of the state, and they saw the need and the help that they could provide to our kids in West Virginia. I love music. Music saved my life. I would never go into school had it not been for music, and I want to make sure every kid in this state has that opportunity to experience music. We are now in 100 schools across West Virginia with an investment over $4 million, almost 4,000 instruments, and every year kids get an opportunity to learn music on those instruments and learn about life and maybe have life-changing experiences. I'm very grateful to the legislators who have supported this, and most of all, I'm very grateful to Governor Jim Justice and our First Lady Kathy Justice, who support this program wholeheartedly. So thank you to the West Virginia Music Hall of Fame, and Chiho and Henry, thank you so much for continuing to support the only entire state-funded program in the United States of America, the great state of West Virginia. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Chiho Feinberg. I am the Senior Director of Programs and Policy for Save the Music Foundation. Save the Music Foundation is a not-for-profit organization that donates instruments to public schools. We have been given to over 2,100 schools grants of band or strings or any other musical instruments. And here in West Virginia is the only state that we get to do a statewide initiative. This means that since 2009, we have delivered to now 100 school grants to all 55 counties, so that the students all over the state of West Virginia can make music playing instruments, either the band or string instruments. We do this with this great leadership with the curator, Randall Lee Smith. And of course, the governor and the first lady has been such a great supporter on this. We thank them for their support and believing in the students, that the students should have a right to make music. I love to say thank you for this great award by the West Virginia Music Hall of Fame. This really acknowledges our work here in West Virginia and really acknowledge that you too believe that our work is very important. Our work of delivering these musical instruments so that the students all over the state can make music. Again, thank you, West Virginia Music Hall of Fame, for this great award. And I hope that I could be with you in the near future in West Virginia. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Senator Joe Manchin, and it is my pleasure to welcome everyone celebrating the 8th West Virginia Music Hall of Fame induction ceremony. During these challenging times, it is important to recognize all the good that still happens every day in our home state and to find cause for celebration. I remember so well attending the first Hall of Fame ceremony in 2007, and it was such an honor to support this wonderful representation of West Virginia. And now, all these years later, I am still so very proud that this event is going as strong as ever. Since 2005, the West Virginia Music Hall of Fame has worked to recognize and preserve the many contributions West Virginians have made to music, and I'm proud to join you all in honoring the 2020 inductees. The Hammonds Family, Ethel Caffie-Austin, Honey and Sonny Davis, Larry Groce, and Mayf Nutter. I thank the members of the West Virginia Music Hall of Fame for making this ceremony such a great success year after year. Thank you, and God bless you.
Mayf Nutter.
I was born in the state of West Virginia. Spent a whole lot of time around this little creek used to run out behind the house. Did a lot of fishing. And then the mines moved in.
Mayf Nutter's wide-ranging career has more twists and turns than a West Virginia back road. The singer, songwriter, actor has blazed a unique trail. His recordings were released on 4 major labels, and he appeared in a number of classic TV series in the 1960s, 70s, and 80s. Mayf Nutter was born in Clarksburg, Harrison County, in 1941. He was named for the Jewel T truck driver who, in mid-route, rushed Mayf's mother to St. Mary's Hospital, a fitting start to a unique life. Nutter first appeared on radio at age 6. In high school, he played in bands and worked for Clarksburg TV station WBOY, where at 16 he hosted his own show, Boyland Bandstand, and played lead guitar on the Peanut Nutter and the Nutcracker Show. After graduating from Bridgeport High School in 1959, Nutter moved to Kalamazoo, Michigan, where he worked in radio and TV, and quickly became the city's #1 morning jock. He was also recruited as singer Del Shannon's lead guitarist and toured nationally with him when Runaway became a #1 single in 1961. After a brief stop in Boston, Nutter moved to Durham, North Carolina, where he joined the Castaways. He wrote and produced 2 songs for the group, including Walk Me Home and Talkin' to Myself. In the mid-'60s, a fan loaned him the money to record his song Head Shrinker.
Hey, here comes that head shrinker. Yeah.
The track was recorded at Stack Studios in Memphis with members of Otis Redding's band. The horn-driven rocker became a favorite of nationally syndicated DJ Wolfman Jack and landed him an opening slot on a tour with the Platters. In Los Angeles, Nutter was hired to lead the internationally successful folk music group, the New Christy Minstrels. The group's 1968 release, On Tour Through Motortown, featured Nutter's song, I Ain't Gonna Waste My Life Lovin' You. In terms of surreal twists and turns in Nutter's career, surely one of the strangest was when, after performing at Hollywood's legendary Troubadour Club, Nutter was approached by none other than Frank Zappa, who wanted to sign him to songwriting and recording deals. Ultimately, Nutter said, Zappa created the Straight Records label for him and gave him complete artistic control. His debut on Straight, a cover of Fred Neil's Everybody's Talkin', was recorded in Merle Haggard's studio with his band, The Strangers, and made it into the Billboard Top 100. His next release for Straight was Hey There, Johnny, a tribute to Johnny Cash.
It was down south in Arkansas on a flatland cotton farm.
Some of Nutter's other songs published by Zappa's Third Story Music were issued on the Reprise, MGM, and Starday labels, and included his song about a creek in his hometown of Bridgeport that was polluted by mine runoff.
Hello, this is Mayf Nutter. Will you help save America's streams, rivers, and air from a man-made tragic disease? Pollution. It's your world, too.
Simpson Creek won't never run clean again.
Simpson Creek Won't Never Run Clean Again is acknowledged by the Sierra Club as the first environmental record and resulted in the Pittsburgh-owned mining company cleaning up numerous creeks in Harrison County. Buck Owens had become a fan of Nutter's recordings, and the two forged a deep working relationship. As a result, Nutter relocated to Bakersfield, where he recorded a string of singles for Capitol Records in Owens' studio, backed by his Buckaroos. Over the next 2 years, Nutter had 4 hits, including the Sing-Along Song and Green Door.
Midnight, one more night without sleeping.
During the early 70s, Nutter would guest on Buck Owens' TV Ranch 56 times. During that time, he also appeared on television shows, including The Waltons, Bonanza, Falcon Crest, Knots Landing, and Gunsmoke. Through the 70s, Nutter continued to score minor hits with Sweet Southern Lovin' and Goin' Skinny Dippin', a song that had been key in a pitch to CBS TV for the series The Dukes of Hazzard. All the people in the song are Nutter's West Virginia relatives.
Robert Lee and Scotty boys come along quick. Emily and Lula better swimming in the creek. Stop that snickering, we're gonna get a licking. If Uncle Bernie catches us, going skinny dipping.
Periodically, Nutter has returned to perform at the Wheeling Jamboree's long-running Jamboree in the Hills. And in 1978, Nutter wrote an autobiographical song that was adopted as the festival's theme song. In 1989, Nutter was performing in Anchorage, Alaska, just weeks after the Exxon Valdez oil spill. During his show, he composed a song on the spot about one of the world's worst environmental accidents.
1, 2, 3, 4. All those pictures in the paper and the film is on TV.
the worst man-made disaster you could ever hope to see.
He quickly recorded the song and released it to radio, noting that all artists' royalties would be donated to the Alaska Fish and Game Commission. The campaign raised more than $2 million to restore fish and wildlife. Nutter has performed at Carnegie Hall, the Grand Ole Opry, the Los Angeles Coliseum, and has headlined in Las Vegas numerous times. In 1982, Nutter became the very first American to sing on national TV in the People's Republic of China. Nutter was the youngest honoree in the Nashville Country Music Hall of Fame Walkway of Stars and was inducted into the Rockabilly Hall of Fame in 2005. On its opening day, the Bakersfield Country Music Museum inducted Mayf Nutter and Buck Owens as its very first honorees. Nutter continues to write, record, and make guest appearances all over the country.
And now, folks, this is the moment surely we've all been waiting for. This man sings. He writes his own songs so often, and he sings them superlatively, and I'm going to ask him to prove it to you right now. Here is my friend, Mayf Nutter.
Thank you, Pat Boone. I really appreciate you. I can't explain how I felt, how happy and unexpected it was when I got the call from Michael Lipton, the president of the Hall of Fame, the West Virginia Music Hall of Fame, and told me that they had voted to induct me into the Hall of Fame. That was such an unexpected thrill, so thank you for that. And I want to thank my parents, who were known as Anna and Peanut when I was growing up, and everybody in my family back there, the Southern family and the Nutter family, my aunts, uncles, and cousins, they all played something. I mean, my aunts played banjo and fiddle. So I've been blessed and highly favored from the very beginning, and I thank my Lord God that I have been blessed like this. So I want to thank all the people who helped us do this video, because we were scheduled to go to West Virginia and perform at a theater there in April. And of course, the COVID thing happened, and it was postponed until July. And then in July, guess what? Postponed it again. And finally, I got a call from Michael Lipton again, and he says, see if you can find a place where you and Pat can get together and make a video. So we'll be part of a TV special. So I want to thank Rick Stevens for putting together all the musicians, the horns and the guitars and everything, and introducing me to his friend and now my friend, Parisi, at his studios, 777 Studios here in Bakersfield, California. One more thing I want to bring out. I want to thank Frank Zappa, because he came to see a Mayf Nutter show at the Troubadour Club in Hollywood. And after the show, he met me before I got down the steps off the stage, and he said, what kind of music was that, man? It's really, he said, come and make some records with me. And I said, Frank, I don't think I belong on Barking Pumpkin Records, Bizarre Productions. He said, I'm going to start a brand new label called Straight Records for you only. And I did. And he said, kept encouraging me to write something about growing up in West Virginia. And that's why Simpson Creek Won't Never Run Clean Again was born. So thank you, my parents, and I thank you for my wonderful wife, who's also been the wardrobe and makeup artist here for this. And I just want to say, now and forever, stay happy!
I grew up in the mountains of West Virginia. Spent a lot of time around this little creek used to run out behind the house. We used to come running off that back porch, going swimming. Did a lot of fishing. Then the mines moved in. Now Simpson Creek won't never run clean again. Sulphur water runs red where the big fish used to swim. Now the fish all died and there ain't no summertime swimming hole. Since the men moved in, opened up the hill, started loading coal. Now the West Fork River won't never run clean again. At least not from the spot where Simpson Creek dumps in. Yeah, the mine's closed up, but the hillsides keep on sliding down. Where the strip mines cut down the trees where there used to be hunting grounds. Oh Lord, what have we done to the land you trusted us to run? Land that fed and clothed us well, we've made an Appalachian hell. Now the Mississippi River can't never run clean again. About every half a mile another Simpson Creek dumps in. It's the West Fork, Allegheny, Ohio, Mississippi sewer line. America, the beautiful, sure is looking fine. Oh Lord, what have we done to the land you trusted us to run? Land that fed and clothed us well, we made an Appalachian hell. Oh Lord, what have we done to the land you trusted us to run? The land that fed and clothed us well, we've turned it into hungry hell. Simpson Creek won't ever run clean again.
Most of my clothes are just t-shirts and jeans. My favorite foods are tacos, burgers, and beans. Wouldn't you know, she likes her caviar and lace. I like my guns and my fishing poles, hunting dogs and rock and roll. She'd rather knit a brand new sweater or just bake a cake. What a pair we made. But when the sun goes down, what a pair we made. With no one else around, what a pair we made. Have my buddies over on a Saturday night, pop some Ridenour when we're watching the fights. She looks for all those old sad movies, 'cause they make her cry. Oh my. Sometimes I run with a noisy crowd. She knows I gotta have my music loud. She drugged me to the symphony, but I just couldn't stay away. What a pair we made. But when the sun goes down, what a pair we made. With no one else around, oh, what a pair we made. I remember when we first got together, we were different as night and day. People said there ain't no way, but what a pair we made. And when the sun goes down, oh, what a pair we made, with no one else around. What a pair we made. And when the sun goes down, what a pair we made. Ooh, what a pair we made. With no one else around.
Father, I stretch my hands to thee.
Ethel Caffie-Austin's title of West Virginia's First Lady of Gospel Music is well-deserved. A powerful singer, pianist, choir leader, and educator, she shared her ministry and her love and knowledge of spiritual music for half a century. Along the way, she's taken her music and her message into prisons, schools, and government housing projects, performed at festivals, and led residencies on both sides of the Atlantic. At home in West Virginia, she's been a tireless ambassador, performing, teaching, and leading festivals and workshops that have kept the old traditions of black gospel music alive.
Well, Mary, don't you weep. Tell Martha not to moan. Tell Martha not to moan. Well, Mary.
Born in Bluefield in 1949, Caffie-Austin was raised near Mount Hope, Fayette County. She learned about her African-American heritage from her adopted parents, David and Lucy Caffie. David, a preacher and longtime Union coal miner, told his daughter about his father's life as a slave in Alabama and taught her songs he learned growing up. This knowledge and music would become the driving force in Caffie-Austin's life. Caffie-Austin started to find her voice while attending Montgomery High School, where she quickly became the accompanist for the school's glee club. She was also involved with the Thespian Club and had leading roles in several plays. At her parents' urging, she stayed close to home and enrolled as an English major at the former West Virginia Institute of Technology in Montgomery. At Tech, Caffie-Austin performed original compositions with the school's choral groups while earning a bachelor's degree in language arts. At the same time, she put together gospel groups in 4 of the state's colleges and universities and organized tours throughout the eastern and southern U.S. After moving to Charleston in the mid-'70s, Caffie-Austin founded the Charleston Area Community Choir. Her ministry and music impacted the lives of everyone who participated. In 1978, she started the Ethel Caffie-Austin Singers, which travel the country spreading the cultural and spiritual message of black sacred music. One of her proudest moments was performing with her choir at Constitution Hall in Washington, D.C., the same venue which in 1939 refused to allow gospel legend Marian Anderson to perform. The Ethel Caffie-Austin Singers toured extensively in Europe and was the first group to perform black sacred music in Poland, Estonia, and at the Brecon Cathedral in Wales. 2 of the group's CDs were recorded live in Europe, Welcome Holy Spirit and Live in Europe.
Well, I'm gonna move in the room with the Lord.
Caffie-Austin has also been in demand as a clinician and has presented numerous gospel workshops which incorporate historical narratives, slave songs, and cultural characters. While her career has taken her worlds away from West Virginia, Caffie-Austin has always reserved her most passionate work for her home state. In 1990, she founded the Black Sacred Music Festival at West Virginia State University and used her connections to bring in nationally known speakers and performers, including the late Charles Fold, the late Reverend Donald Vales, Dr. Ollie Watts Davis, and Richard Smallwood. Another project, the Ethel Caffie-Austin Experience, brought together singers from various churches in the community to form a gospel choir. The day-long workshops concluded with a public performance. She also served as coordinator for the City of Charleston's Community Arts Program, where she developed music, drama, dance, and visual arts opportunities for youth and young adults. In 1997, Kanawha County Schools requested that she return to work with students enrolled in Capital Academy, an alternative high school for at-risk students who have one last chance to receive an education in the public school system. Dating back to the 70s, she's hosted workshops and performed at the State Vandalia Gathering more than 25 times. Caffie-Austin has released several recordings and instructional videotapes, and in 1999 was the subject of a documentary produced by Apple Shop titled His Eye is on the Sparrow. In 2010, she contributed a song to the Harry Smith Connection, a live tribute to the anthology of American folk music. Because of her passion and commitment, Caffie-Austin has been the recipient of many awards and honors. She was named West Virginia's Queen of Black Sacred Music in 1995, and in 1998 crowned West Virginia's Queen of Gospel Music. In 2006, she received the Vandalia Award, the state's highest folklife honor. In 2015, Caffie-Austin was recipient of the Church of God in Christ's National 150 Influential Women Award. This award exemplifies her dedication and her high standards. Most importantly, she teaches by example, and in doing so, has touched the lives of many West Virginians.
Here with a special message presenting the induction to Ethel Caffie-Austin is esteemed professor of music at the University of Illinois, Dr. Ollie Watts Davis.
Give me my flowers while I yet live, so that I can see the beauty that they bring. Speak kind words to me, so that I can hear them, so that I can feel the comfort that they bring. I am Dr. Ollie Watts Davis, the Suzanne and William Allen Distinguished Professor of Music, Professor of Voice, and Music Director and Conductor of the Black Chorus at the University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign. And I am delighted with this opportunity to give Dr. Ethel Caffie-Austin her flowers and to speak wonderful words of tribute to her. Dr. Caffie-Austin is a tremendous individual, most deserving of this honor. And I am delighted that West Virginia is honoring her work, her legacy, and her life by inducting her into the Hall of Fame this year, 2020. I have known Dr. Caffie-Austin my entire life. We grew up in the same hometown, Mount Hope, West Virginia. She was actually a friend and a contemporary of my older siblings, Richard, Linda, and Anita. And her reputation was outstanding. I knew her through her music, I knew her through her life, I knew her through her legacy as a young person with a singular purpose, and that to glorify God and to honor her parents and to honor her community. I actually went to West Virginia Institute of Technology for my undergraduate degree for two reasons. My brother Matthew was there studying engineering, and Dr. Caffie-Austin was directing the West Virginia Tech Collegiate Gospel Choir. I had heard them during my high school years when they were on tour in Mount Hope and Beckley. And I said, if I go to Tech, I want to be a part of that organization. So it was a real draw for me to be there. While I was a student, Dr. Caffie-Austin poured her life into my life. I was young and I was naive and I was excited, and she was patient with me. and she allowed me to travel with her, and I was exposed to so many things in this wonderful Black sacred music tradition. I remember the tours, I remember the concerts, I remember the rehearsals, and they were all filled with great excitement, lots of love, good discipline, and wonderful teaching. I owe a tremendous debt of gratitude to Dr. Caffie-Austin for my foundation in the music and the methods and the message of the Black sacred music tradition. Dr. Austin nurtured me. Dr. Austin served as a mentor. She served as a teacher, a director, a counselor, and as a spiritual mother. And I am so honored with this opportunity to pay tribute to her. She is so deserving of this acknowledgement. And I'm, again, appreciative of my home state, West Virginia, for lifting her in this way, adding value to her years and adding life to her legacy. Thank you again for allowing me to just say, congratulations, Dr. Ethel Caffie-Austin, also affectionately known as EJ. I love you and God bless you.
I want to take a moment to congratulate my longtime friend Ethel Caffie-Austin on being inducted into the West Virginia Music Hall of Fame. Down through the years with great dignity and class and finesse and musical integrity, she has ministered, she has helped lives, helped churches, helped people to reach their potential musically and spiritually. On this momentous occasion, it gives me great joy to lend my voice with others in offering accolades and applause. Job well done.
Here to perform for the first time as a member of the West Virginia Music Hall of Fame, please welcome Ethel Caffie-Austin.
Thank you very much for all of the attention that you have given me. I appreciate all of the things that God has blessed me with. It has not been easy all of the time, but it has been a pleasure to just be able to sing the praises of God. Because you have been so good about responding. And I thank God that you have appreciated the music that God has blessed me with. And it has been a pleasure. It has been a blessing just to be able to sing the songs of Zion and to a group of people that accepted them. And I'm excited that God has been so good to me to let me see the years that I have been able to come here. And oh, it's wonderful. It's marvelous. And I don't want you to ever think that I took it for granted. I am honored, but I want you to know that I'm honored not because of the publicity or anything, but I am honored because I am able still, with my old age, to finally be able to sing. God knows I love him, and I love the music, and I don't take it for granted, but I am appreciative. It is no secret what God can do, what He's done for others, He'll do for you. His arms wide open, He'll pardon you. It is no secret what God can do. Your courage to endure. Someone slipped and fell. Was that someone you? Look for strength, for added strength, your courage to renew. Do not be discouraged, for I bring news to you. It is no secret what God can do, what He's done for others, He'll do for you. With arms wide open, that's pitiful, He'll pardon you. It is no secret what God can do. a feeling.
I've got a feeling everything is gonna be alright. I've got a feeling everything is gonna be alright. I've got a feeling everything is gonna be alright. Be alright. Be alright. Be alright.
I've got a feeling.
I've got a feeling
Close the door.
everything is gonna be alright.
Oh,
I've got a feeling everything is gonna be alright. I've got a feeling everything is gonna be alright. Be alright. Be alright. Be alright.
be alright.
Be alright. Be alright. Be alright.
One more time. Be alright.
Be alright. Be alright. Be alright.
That sounds pretty good.
Larry Groce. It's not a stretch to say that Larry Groce has changed the musical and artistic face of West Virginia as much as any single person. Groce's love affair with West Virginia happened quite by accident. Fact is, he still isn't quite sure how or why he ended up in the state. Nearly 50 years ago, he received a phone call offering him a 9-month-long residency in West Virginia as part of a new National Endowment for the Arts-sponsored Artist in Schools program. With little hesitation, Groce, who had never been to West Virginia, accepted the job. The odd thing was, he was not aware of the program and had not applied for the position. But weary of living in Los Angeles, he felt it was time for a change. And what a change it was! Rural West Virginia was a world away from Dallas, LA, and New York City. But he fell in love with the state's spirit and people.
The other morning, at the sunrise, when the mist was on the hills and all around.
Since then, he has been involved with virtually every facet of the state's arts scene. Groce's life and career have been driven by a rare combination of creativity, a sense of adventure, and no shortage of synchronicity. He was born in Dallas, Texas in 1948, and by the time he was in high school, he was playing regularly in the now legendary coffee houses like the Rubaiyat. While in college, Groce recorded his first LP in 1969, a collection of hymns titled Peace and Joy and Power. The LP was co-produced by famed bandleader and radio personality Kay Kaiser. Later LPs featured a cast of musicians that included Garth Hudson, Richard Manuel, and Melissa Manchester.
A grateful heart, a garden is.
After college, he moved to New York City's Upper West Side, where he had a regular gig at an organic restaurant which would provide fodder for his future hit. From New York, he moved to LA and recorded 2 albums on RCA Daybreak Records before coming to West Virginia.
Rabbit come running down the fence road.
After moving to Barber County in 1972, Groce charted the top 10 hit Junk Food Junkie in 1976, which propelled him briefly into the strange world of pop culture.
You know I love that organic cooking. I always ask for more. And they call me Mr. Natural. On down to the health food store.
He was lauded by the likes of Dr. Demento and appeared on The Tonight Show with Johnny Carson, American Bandstand, The Merv Griffin Show, The Midnight Special, The Rich Little Show, and many others. Around that time, Groce was recruited to star in and write music for the pilot for a television kids show called The Big Yellow Bus that was hoping to replace the long-running Captain Kangaroo. That show didn't fly, but the pilot was made, and Groce wrote the theme, which he recorded with Ry Cooder. Between 1979 and 1990, he wrote 36 songs for Walt Disney Records and appeared on 9 Disney albums, a number of which were certified gold and platinum.
Then the mountains fill the night with a
sweet lullaby.
His first Disney release, 1976's Winnie the Pooh for President, was nominated for a Grammy for Best Recording for Children. As a result, Pooh received more than 225,000 votes in that year's presidential election. Disney's Children's Favorites Volume 1 through 4 are still in print. In 1981, another bolt of synchronistic lightning struck. Andy Ridenour, a producer at West Virginia Public Radio, had an idea for a radio show that featured live music. He had already enlisted Francis Fisher as the show's engineer. Fisher, a Parkersburg native who had returned to Elkins after working at NBC in New York City, was one of the first people Groce had met when he moved to West Virginia. The two contacted Groce and asked him to be the host and artistic director. Groce agreed on one condition. The goal was to syndicate the show nationally. Now in its 36th year, Mountain Stage is closing in on its 1,000th show and has become one of West Virginia's most recognized calling cards. All told, Mountain Stage has presented more than 3,000 acts and is now carried on more than 225 stations and heard by 250,000 listeners each week. The list of artists is a who's who of American music, with no shortage of acts from Europe, the United Kingdom, and Africa. With a deep understanding of music and a voice that rivals many of the show's guests, he has earned the respect and friendship of scores of artists, including many that influenced him coming up. Always up for a challenge, in 1990, Groce starred in Danny Boyd's feature film Paradise Park. In 2018, he penned the music when the movie was turned into a musical.
These old hills and our hollers are rugged, and it's a tough place to make a mark. But with the moon and the stars up above it, there's a whole lot of loving in Paradise Park.
In 2005, Groce was asked to help create an arts festival for the city of Charleston. Now in its 16th year, Festival Charleston, the 10-day festival of music, dance, theater, and visual arts, energizes West Virginia's capital city. Groce has been awarded honorary doctorates from West Virginia Wesleyan College and the University of Charleston, and in 2008 was awarded a West Virginia Governor's Art Award for leadership in the arts. In 2016, he released his 24th CD, Live Forever, which featured his wife Sandra Groce, a symphonic violist, and his old high school buddy, Ray Wiley Hubbard.
I'm gonna live forever. I'm gonna cross that river. I'm gonna catch tomorrow now.
Groce's energy and enthusiasm for music and arts-related programs shows no sign of letting up. He remains an advocate and supporter of everything related to the arts, and he is sought out for his guidance and knowledge by people of all ages and in every sector.
There may be some grand design, but it feels like a long, hard climb. You'll have to spend some time in the wilderness. You'll have to spend some time in the wilderness.
Our next presenters are co-founders of the radio show Mountain Stage, and both of them have been inducted into the West Virginia Broadcasters Hall of Fame. Here to present the induction of their friend and co-founder of Mountain Stage are the show's executive producer emeritus, Andy Ridenour, and chief engineer, Francis Fisher.
Think of the outstanding teachers in your life. Isn't this the reason? Isn't this the person who drew you in with his knowledge and passion? You listened and then responded by giving your best effort. This is how I view Larry. He is that teacher for me. During the summer of 1972, I met Larry in a radio studio in Elkins. I recorded his interview when he spoke about his new position as musician in residence in the schools in the Elkins region. We started a conversation that day. We liked one another and became friends. And I began working with him on one project after another, and we've been doing this for 48 years. After West Virginia Public Broadcasting hired me as a broadcast engineer in Beckley, I told Larry I was going to do my level best to let my new colleagues know about him. Time passed, and then I became chief engineer for public radio in Charleston. One day, Andy Ridenour asked me about the idea of doing a musical variety program that would be broadcast live. And without pause, I said yes, and I suggested Larry should host this new show. Andy agreed, and we began to turn out productions when money allowed. All the while, and with every encounter with Larry, it was fun. There was always a lot of humor, but always there was some aspect of a learning experience. Once we were broadcasting nationally, the show grew, and we were able to attract several of Larry's own musical heroes as guests. After one of these shows, I stopped Larry backstage, and I asked if what we were doing wasn't, in reality, a musical master class. Of course, he said, and we both laughed. It's my feeling that throughout these years, our cast and crew and our longtime listeners were gathering in a large classroom, listening to the lessons of a great teacher who augments each lesson with the musical examples of many of the world's best musicians. Those of us who work on Mountain Stage give our best work, in great part because of Larry, of course. I can't think of anyone more deserving of this honor than Larry, probably the best teacher in my life.
I am unbelievably honored to be here for this presentation of my friend Larry Groce on his induction into the West Virginia Music Hall of Fame class of 2020. Larry and I met over 40 years ago when we both had full heads of brown hair. We've been through a lot over the decades, marriages and divorces, births and deaths, trying times, but many wonderful celebrations. I admire Larry. I admire his honesty, his integrity, loyalty, and his steadfastness to keep moving forward. He is a great father to Virginia and Bonnie, and a great husband to Sandra, and a son and brother, a great son and brother. He's been a role model for me and provided good counsel over the years. And for better or worse, he's taught me how to really play golf. It's for money. I wouldn't be standing here now if it weren't for Larry. In fact, Mountain Stage would have not become the show that it is today without Larry. But both Larry and I know that neither of us would be standing here if it weren't for the hard work and talents of our Mountain Stage family, our support and office staff, production crew, and talented band. So thinking of all those folks who make our show possible, I asked our Mountain Stage family to pick a few words to describe Larry Groce and to allow me to chime in on this occasion on their behalf. Generous was one of the most frequently mentioned words. Generous with his resources, his time and talent, and sometimes his patience. If you check the parking lot on show day, there is probably more than one car in the lot that he previously owned. Other words they gave me were inclusive, willing to let others share in the process. He's a listener. He can hit a pretty good wedge shot from 100 yards. He's determined, tenacious, dedicated, and always curious. He's the most stand-up guy. And we all believe he's the smartest person in the room. The consensus is that he's witty and fast on his feet. Thoughtful also came up quite a bit. And there is the fact that he is a walking encyclopedia of the arts and history, from Shakespeare to Dylan, all of them, to Secretariat. Larry has a presence about him, his leadership, gravitas, and empathy. Larry strives for excellence and has the unique ability to inspire those around him to do the same. And now that you know a little bit more about Larry and why we think no one is more deserving of this accolade than our favorite West Virginian by choice, it is with great honor that I speak on behalf of myself and the Mountain Stage family on his induction of Larry Groce into the West Virginia Music Hall of Fame class of 2020.
Just thank those guys, and it's so wonderful they could be here today, and I appreciate so much what they said. It was quite moving to me. Yes,
Francis is one of the first people I met when I came to West Virginia in 1972, and Andy was just a few years after that when he was working at a Beckley station as a DJ. And the fact that two of my oldest and dearest friends could be here is a wonderful thing, and they certainly shared this honor with me. And it is an honor. It's a great honor. I'm as grateful as a person can be to be in the West Virginia Music Hall of Fame. I fell in love with this wild, wonderful, and weird little state shortly after arriving here in October 48 years ago, and the feeling has just grown stronger as every autumn passes. Any honor that comes from this state is something that I treasure. And let me congratulate now my fellow inductees, Ethel Caffie-Austin, the Davis twins, Mayf Nutter, and the Hammonds family, all very deserving and all I'm sure feel the way I do today. To be even mentioned in the same breath with people like Bill Withers and Hazel Dickens, George Crum, Kathy Mattea, Tim O'Brien, Bob Thompson, and so many others is staggering to me. And that certainly includes the folks that are here tonight, Billy Edd Wheeler, Charlie McCoy, John Ellison, amazing talents. I instantly loved the songs of Billy Edd Wheeler when I was a teenager, and I was far from West Virginia then. I was living in Texas, but I heard those songs, Cold Tattoo, Coming to the Roads, Red-Winged Blackbird, and I fell in love with them, even though I had never seen these mountains, I'd never seen a coal mine, but there was something there that really got to me. And Charlie McCoy, my goodness, I remember Hee Haw, I remember the guy playing the guitar on Desolation Row with Bob Dylan, playing that bass harmonica on, with Paul Simon on the Boxer, and I didn't even know who it was, but now I get to be in the same Hall of Fame with that man, which is really unbelievable. I know I'm here in great part because of Mountain Stage, the little radio show that could and still can. I guarantee that Andy and Francis and I never thought the show would still be chugging along almost 4 decades after we started it. But it is, and it's actually picking up steam in its old age. For that, I thank these two and all the other folks who made it happen. As Andy said, it's truly a team effort. I'm going to mention a few of them now. It won't be all, but a few. Linda, Adam, Voss, Jeff, Paul, Richie, Jimmy, Lance, Woogie, Mary Lee, Big J, the General, John, BT, Julie, Ron, Steve, Michael, Ahmed, and Ryan, and the past band members, and all the other folks who worked on the show over the years, and those people at West Virginia Public Broadcasting who allowed it to happen and made it possible. Mountain Stage has always been a true team effort, and I hope all of these folks feel like they're sharing this honor tonight, because they most certainly are. Nothing could be sweeter than a life in music. From writing and performing to producing, curating, and presenting songs that ranged in style from hymns to musical theater, it has been quite a ride and more wonderful than I could ever have imagined. I couldn't have started it at all without my parents. They never tried to steer me to a more secure or lucrative path, and I'm sure they wanted to, but God bless them for that. And God bless my wonderful wife, Sandra, and my daughters, Virginia and Bonnie, who mean more to me than I can ever express to anyone. And to my great extended family and friends, including my first partner, Devin, who over the years helped and encouraged me. I thank you all from the bottom of my heart. Also, my deepest thanks to Michael Lipton, the man whose vision and perseverance are responsible for this noble and sometimes thankless project. I know that because I've watched it grow. My sincere gratitude to the board members of the Hall of Fame and to all those folks who vote on the inductees every 2 years. Thank you so much. I'm a very lucky person to have spent my life with people like these, and thousands of musicians, singers, and songwriters who've crossed my path and performed on Mountain Stage. Their performances never fail to give me chills and make me realize what a wonderful world we live in and how we're all connected, no matter what it might seem like sometimes. In the end, I really, truly do believe that this world is turning around a simple song. Thank you.
So Larry Groce and I were in this band. I think Larry was still in high school and I was a freshman in college. It was Larry Groce, Joe Wright, a wonderful girl singer, and Jerry Graves, who played washed-up bass. We were a Jugs Band. The name of our band was the Raggedy Sometime Band. So we got some gigs, started playing. We started playing this club in Dallas called the Rubaiyat. And we started killing it. I mean, just killing it. And we made $50 a night, which we would split up, which came to $12.25 a piece. Is that right? Okay. So anyhow, like I say, we played this place. We were just packing it out on, every night. And so anyhow, we got with Larry, decided that we needed a raise. So we said, well, what should we do? He said, well, let's go ask the guy, Ron Shipman, for a raise. So we went to the club owner, Ron, and Larry Groce says, we would like a raise of $5 a night, which would be an extra $1.25 a piece, which would make it, what, $13.50 a night that we were making? Well, whatever it was, we asked for $5 a raise for the whole band to $55 a night. And Ron Shipman says, you're not worth it, you're fired, get out of here. So that was our, I think the band broke up after that. I think Larry Groce is an incredible musician, a wonderful songwriter, and a stand-up guy. So congratulations, Larry.
Well, now it's time to welcome to the stage our latest inductee. Here to perform along with our Hall of Fame band and his wife Sandra Groce on the viola, here's Larry Groce.
The other morning at the sunrise, when the mist was on the hills and all around, I saw a beautiful gray-haired woman on the road as I drove into town. I pulled over and I asked her if I could give her a lift on her way. She said, no thank you, I'm almost home now. I'll be alright when the mist clears away. Let the sunrise break through the darkness and let the night turn to beautiful day. Don't let the shadow turn into mountains. You'll be alright when the mist clears away. The other evening, long past the sundown, when the neon lights are flashing in the night, I saw a young man sit on a doorstep. That man was a pitiful sight. His eyes were bloodshot, his hands were trembling. I hesitated as I thought I heard him say, I know you lose some, gotta hope you win some. You'll be alright when the mist clears away. Let the sunlight break through the darkness and let the night turn to beautiful day. Don't let the shadows turn into mountains. You'll be alright when the mist clears away. Well, I've been lonely, I've been angry. Sometimes I don't know just which way to turn. Well, I've been lazy, I've been jealous. Sometimes, you know, I think I'll never learn. But deep inside me, if I listen, there's a tiny voice that always seems to say, don't be mistaken, you're not forsaken, you'll be be alright when the mist clears away. Let the sunlight break through the darkness and let the night turn to beautiful day. Don't let the shadows turn into mountains. You'll be alright when the mist clears away. You know I love that organic cooking. I always ask for more. And they call me Mr. Natural on down to the health food store. I only eat good sea salt. White sugar don't touch my lips. And my friends are always begging me to take them on macrobiotic trips. Yes, they are. But at night I take out my strong box that I keep under lock and key. And I take it off to my closet where nobody else can see. I pull out some Fritos corn chips, a Dr. Pepper and an old moon pie. To sit back in glorious expectation of a genuine junk food high. In the daytime I'm Mr. Natural, just as healthy as I can be. But at night I am a junk food junkie. Oh, good Lord, have pity on me. At lunchtime you can always find me at the Whole Earth Vitamin Bar, just a-sucking on my plain white yogurt from my hand-thrown pottery jar, and sipping a little hand-pressed cider with a carrot stick for dessert, and wiping my face in a natural way on the sleeve of my peasant shirt. You know I do. But when that clock strikes midnight and I'm all by myself, I work that combination on my secret hideaway shelf. And I pull out some Fritos corn chips, a Dr. Pepper and an old moon pie. I sit back in glorious expectation of a genuine junk food high. In the daytime I'm Mr. Natural, just as healthy as I can be. But at night I am a junk food junkie. Good Lord, have pity on me. My friends down at the commune, they think I'm pretty neat. I don't know a thing about their arts and crafts, but I give them all something to eat. I was a friend to old Yule Gibbons, rest his soul, I only eat homegrown spice. I got a John Keats autographed Grecian urn filled up with my brown rice. You know I do. But lately I have been spotted with a Big Mac on my breath, stumbling into a Colonel Sanders with a face as white as death. I'm afraid someday they'll find me just stretched out on my bed with a handful of Pringles potato chips and a ding-dong by my head. In the daytime I'm Mr. Natural, just as healthy as I can be. But at night I am a junk food junkie. Good Lordy, have pity on me.
He rode easy in the saddle, he was tall and lean. First he thought nothing but a streak of mean could make a man look so downright strong. But one look in his eyes and you know just wrong. He was a mountain man, I want you to know. He could preach hot hell or freezing snow. Carried a Bible in a canvas sack. Folks just called him the Reverend Mr. Black. Now he as poor as a beggar, but he rode like a king. Sometimes in the evening I'd hear him sing.
I got to walk that lonesome valley. I got to walk it by myself, for nobody else can walk it for me. I got to walk it by myself.
If ever I could have thought this man in black was
soft and had any yellow up his back. I gave that notion up today. A lumberjack came in and it wasn't to pray. He kicked open that meeting house door and cussed everybody up and down the floor. And then when things got quiet in the place, he walked up and cussed in the preacher's face. He hit that reverend like the kick of a mule, and to my way of thinking it took a pure fool to turn the other cheek to that lumberjack. But that's what he did, Reverend Mr. Black. He stood like a rock, a man among men. Let that timber giant hit him again. And then with a voice as kind as could be, cut him down like a big oak tree when he said,
"You got to walk that lonesome valley. You got to walk it by yourself. Oh, nobody else can walk it for you. You got to walk it by yourself."
It's been many years we had to part, but I guess I learned his ways by heart. And I can still hear his sermons ring down in the valley where he used to sing. I followed him, yes sir, and I don't regret it. And I hope that I'll always be a credit to his memory, 'cause I want you to understand, Reverend Mr. Black was my old man.
You got to walk that lonesome valley. You got to walk it by yourself. Oh, nobody else can walk it for you. You got to walk it by yourself. One more time. You got to walk that lonesome valley. You got to walk it by yourself. Oh, nobody else can walk it for you. You got to walk it by yourself. Yeah, you got to walk it by yourself.
Support for West Virginia Public Broadcasting comes from contributions from generous viewers like you.